Hey, this is Sasha. Thanks for joining me in today's video. What I want to show you today is a walkthrough of the ThinkorSwim platform. It's been a while since I did this. A lot of people ask me about it. I'll just share with you my thoughts, takes, and some of the tricks that I go ahead and use. And more importantly, just keeping it simple. I'm not going to go into all the nitty-gritty details, but at least I'll show you the core things that I personally use, so that way you don't waste time too much looking around at the other stuff. I may tackle and dab a little bit in some areas where you could investigate further, but I'll just really show you the core things that we use when we're trading options, putting on stocks, and really making the most of the panel. So stay tuned. I'm going to share with you. It's going to be a good in-depth tutorial, and we're going to walk through it step by step together. All right, so if you're brand new to trading and investing, I highly recommend checking out kind of this ThinkorSwim platform, really going into our website at tradersfly.com. We've got a lot of different things in the resources there, so check this out if you're new. There's things for books, stockbrokers, equipment, and trading tools. So if you're really curious about anything that I use, go check this website out first. Also, if you want to really learn about stock trading, investing, and options, go to the Get Started pages. Start right there. Read a couple books, but if, let's say, you're getting into options right now, because this is a heavily options platform, watch these videos. They're going to really take you step by step in giving you a basics. Now, I think when you're dealing with trading options and dealing with investing, a lot of the things that we post on YouTube are still very basic. And even those things confuse a lot of people. Eventually, you might want to get into some of the courses that we offer. Some of these courses are like 18 to 22 hours. Or for some of you, you might want to get into some private coaching and mentoring. So you could go ahead and check that out as well. So if you want to work one-on-one, or maybe like in a group setting of group of 2 to 4 people, we do that kind of stuff as well, along with a couple of membership related things. So anyways, to kick those things off, definitely check out our website at tradersfly.com. There's a lot of great stuff. From the Getting Started page, which is free. This whole website is all free. The courses are paid, so if you want to check out some of the courses that we have, there's a ton of courses, that I'm working on and I've been working on over the last few years. So definitely check those things out. From stock chart setups to personalities in trading and psychologies of the inner game. So many cool things there. Memberships, coaching, a lot of great resources if you want to learn about tech stuff, computer stuff to buy. And we're even getting and launching kind of some freebies, which I'll show you the freebies section as well, that you could go ahead and go to the freebies section. There will be a freebies tab kind of here at the top here very soon. And there's going to be some great freebies for you to download as well. Anyways, to kick those things off, let's get started with the ThinkorSwim platform. Really, this platform, I only use a couple of main things in this platform. And I would say the core thing for me is really this monitor tab and kind of the trade and analyze tab. It's really these first 3 tabs. So this is kind of like your browser tab. This panel is set up in a way. So you have kind of this left panel, and then you've got this right panel. This left panel is just kind of quick access stuff. And really, you don't even have to use it. It's just mostly like this. So think of it like a website browser. And then what you have is these tabs at the top. You've got a monitor tab, a trade tab, an analyze tab. Let's just zoom in on them. You've got a scan tab, market watch, charts, tools, education, and help. So ultimately, I don't really use a lot of these things besides the first 3 things there. Of course, help is going to the help. Education is if you want to go ahead and do some of their learning stuff, it's in there. I personally don't use it. There's some tools in here. Again, I don't really use any of this kind of stuff. The charts, I will pop into the charts sometimes if you want to go ahead and pop in like McDonald's. You could go ahead and check it out right there. You could go ahead and pop in the S&P, let's say Tesla, Apple. Those are ticker symbols, by the way. So what you do is you go ahead and just pop the ticker symbol in right there, and it'll take you to the chart. So Harley Davidson and so on. It'll pop the chart out. You could go ahead and add a couple of other tools on these charts. So on the side, like time and sales, active trader, these kinds of things. Again, I just keep it really simple. I don't really use any of that stuff. There's some news. That's all I do. I got the volume. I've got the chart. I can look it up like that. There is a flexible grid here as well. So if you want to put in multiple charts, like I want to see McDonald's on this one, I want to see Apple over here, you could go ahead and say Netflix on this one. So you could do something like this. and Tesla over here. And now you've got kind of a flex grid layout for these charts. So that's kind of another way to look at it, to customize kind of the grid. You get some sidebars things over there as well, and you can add studies and patterns and so on. So there's a lot of tools up here. If you want to change candlesticks to something else, you could do that. And there's some settings here. Again, keep it really simple, really simple. I wouldn't go into it too much. I personally just go from the charts right here. If I want to add a couple of grids, I customize it. So let's say I do 4 because it just makes sense for the monitor. So that's what I do, is I go over here to this area in the regular chart section. So I just go right on over. And if I want to do more, if let's say you got a wider monitor, you could do kind of right here, 3 charts. If you got like a vertical monitor, you could just do 2. So anyways, I'm working right here, 6 monitors on this computer, 6 on the other, so I got 12 screens. And then you can just pop things in if you want. So anyways, that's just the basic thing for the charts. Market Watch, I don't use any of this kind of stuff. I will go ahead and in this Market Watch, you can add lists. So that way you could have personal watch lists. And all I really do use that for is when I'm on this homepage, because this is where you kind of log in, is I just go ahead and kind of this screen right here. And really on this screen, when you go here, this is kind of this left side and left panel. And what this left panel does is you could just go ahead and put in your personal watch list. So if I want to see apparel, I could go ahead and see all my apparel. I just leave it to kind of my main watch list or whatever. Just basically the big ones. I don't even remember which one I had. It's just popular companies, I think. So I just kind of add in a few things here and there that I watch. So I'll just go ahead and tap that ticker symbol in here. So let's say I'm interested in, well, Tesla's already in here, but if I want to go ahead and add another symbol, like maybe Disney, I don't think Disney's on here. So it'll go ahead and add it and it'll be right there. So maybe another one, which one? Probably BP, I don't have in here. So we'll go ahead, put BP, hit enter, and it'll pop it in there. So there it is. That's how the platform works. And then you could just sort it from based on the price, sort it alphabetical. I could also go ahead and customize some of these. For example, do I really need to see the bid and the ask? Maybe I just want to see, hey, what's the bid? What's the net change? And keep it simple like that. So that's kind of the other thing I might want to check out on this. You could also customize it a little bit more like percent change if you want to see percent instead of the bid, because you already know what the net change and what the last is. So you could just, hey, let me see what the percent change is. So anyways, it's just a simple way to customize some of these things if you're into that. Here, you can also see the earnings. When the earnings coming out, there'll be some icons, also the same over here, by the way. So anyways, that's kind of the basic rundown of the initial part of the platform. So there's really 3 main tabs that when I look at these things, I really just look at 3 main tabs. I've got the monitor, the trade, and the analyze tab. Let's just go through setting up a trade and how I would do it. If I go in and set up a trade, I first would go in and, because that'll run me through the whole process, I go in and I go through the trade. And let's say I want to put on a trade on, let's go with Disney. So I put on a trade on Disney. If I want to buy shares, right here, here's the last price, net change, bid, ask spread. You could go ahead and click these kinds of things and then it'll pop in these, buy or sell. So you could do that. I don't really do that because sometimes if you click the wrong one and you're kind of new, it's a little bit of a problem. So what I would rather do is, because otherwise you could be short or you could be long, right? You hit the bid versus you hit the ask, it's changing here, the color. I would rather right click and now you get to choose buy or sell. So I right click and then let's say I want to buy shares of Disney. And now what you can do is you can say, okay, well, here's my Disney stock. You can see it there on the orders. And let's say I want 100 shares, I can change that. You can change your order type, market, limit, stop limit, and many other orders. So let's just say limit. We try to use limit as much as possible. Here's kind of the mid versus the natural price. See if you can get it kind of in the middle if possible. You could just send that order in by hitting confirm and send, or I just right click confirm and send. I do a lot of right clicking in this platform, but you could just hit confirm and send. Sometimes that's fine, wherever my mouse is closest. If my mouse is over in this area, I will right click and send. If my mouse and I was changing the limit, I'll just hit confirm and send over here. So it's whatever works. Now, the one thing with right click is what I like is right click and analyze the trade. So now if I go into analyze the trade, this is, I would say, the bread and butter behind this platform. No other platform that I've used has an analyze tab like this. This is one of the most amazing things about this platform. And what this analyze area tells you is ultimately you've got your profit and loss on the left, you've got your zero line right here in the middle, and you got your stock price on the bottom. So current stock price is 106.63. And it tells you now all your Greeks. And if you're not familiar with the Greeks, definitely learn a little bit more and download some of the freebies that I have about the Greeks. But here, if we've got 100 shares, I've got a delta of 100, right? 100 shares, delta of 100. So that means when the stock moves up $1, I make $100. Moves down, right? So this is what this line is telling me, is I match up the current price. Let's say the stock gets to 120. Well, are you going to be making or losing money? You're going to be making money, right? So I match it up with what's over here, and I should be profitable like $1,200 or so. So if I go to 120, you can see I'm profitable about $1,332. Well, that's a guessing game. The way that you really do it, if you want to calculate it, is this. This is a price slice, and that controls this dotted line. So I could just type in 120 right there, and it locks the price, which means it's not the current price. So it moved it here, which means here's the hash mark. That's the current price. There's my dotted line, which is that hash. And you can see I'd be profitable $1,330, okay? So that's what that does with that line. And I can move that line, and that line will control that profit and loss. And it'll also control this delta, gamma, vega. This whole price slice area is controlled with that line. Now, I could just have a single price slice. I could have more price slices, which I'll show you right now. I could go ahead and add another price slice and say, okay, well, let's say the stock goes down $5. Well, that's my price slice there. Let's say I add another price slice, and let's say it goes, instead of dollars, I change it to percents. Well, now let's say it goes up 10%. Well, how much would I make? I'd make $1,059. So price slices are pretty cool. You could also go ahead, set slices to, let's say, 8 rows with 2%. So you could do a lot of interesting things here with price slices. You could set slices to current break even, which is the current price, make it live. And I could do something like this. So I'm now creating things, back to 0, and you can just manipulate these things based on where you want to see your profit and loss. But ultimately, just using the mouse will tell you profit and loss as well. So the next thing you can do is manipulate the shares here. So as I go ahead and do 200, 300, 400, 500 shares, you're manipulating the delta. And what that means is, well, now you've got a steeper profit and loss curve. So obviously by going with a steeper line, it means you make or lose more, because if it goes against you, well, now are you going to be making or losing money? You're going to be losing money. So I could go ahead and click this to reduce kind of the slope of it, so I could look at it in a longer timeline. So now you can see those values have changed. I can also stretch this as well, which is pretty cool, and drag this to move it over. So now I can see, okay, well, now if we go down to 100, I'm down $3,400. Yikes. If it goes down to 80, I'm down $13,200. And that's really because we've got a higher or a bigger delta. So that's the way the price slices work. There's also some other figures here as well, but we're not going to go into that as well. Normally, what I would do is right-click, confirm and send. That's how I would send that trade in, and hit the send button, and you're good to go. And then that trade will be put into this kind of working order period, which is going to look very similar to this. This is the orders that I've already filled. So you have a couple of areas here: working orders, filled orders, and canceled orders. So you also have kind of rolling strategies. But anyways, so working orders are the ones that are kind of in there, not filled yet. It might be in there for a minute or 2 minutes. Filled orders is going to be kind of the orders that were executed for that day. And then canceled orders were kind of the ones you canceled out. So anyways, in this case, that's the way I work with this basic buying stock, or you could be short stock. So I could go ahead and convert that to a negative. And now again, the same principle applies. So you're just looking at this. And one thing that's interesting is you could change this graph to a float, which kind of just resizes it wherever you're at. So let's say I go ahead and start moving it, it will reset it kind of to a general or good view. So you can see I just move it, boom, and it'll refocus a little. So that's pretty cool. But if you need to kind of zoom in on something, you have to change it to this fixed area. Okay, and that'll basically, now I can stretch it, go zoom in a little bit, and I can fine tune things based on my personal needs. So anyways, let's go back to float, resize, and you can see how that kind of fluctuates. All right, I personally usually use fixed unless I'm kind of way out of proportion somewhere. So anyways, that's kind of the way it works. There's a little bit of cool stuff here where you can tag things red or yellow. So let's say I mark this yellow. So anything yellow will mark and tag it here. So if I go ahead and do yellow, and I go ahead and hit kind of like Apple in this case, let's go Apple. Then also the Analyze tab will switch to Apple. And what you can do actually for this is, let's say you detach things and you want to have something like, okay, well, I want to have Apple over here, and this Analyze, normally with multiple screens, it's a lot easier. What you can do is go ahead and, let's just see if I could resize it so you can see it. If I go this way and this way, so let's say you've got different items you detach. So here's another one that I've detached. You could detach windows, and they basically just all link up. So if I go ahead and link this one, or I think the easiest way, normally I link everything together, but what you could do is, like, let's say you do a chart, okay, and you detach a chart. You can see I made mine red, but let's say this goes to yellow, okay. So now if I go in for the trade, and since this is yellow, and I go into, let's say AT&T, boom, the chart over here changes to AT&T. If I go to Coca-Cola, boom, the chart changes to Coca-Cola. So that's the way that kind of works. Again, you don't have to use that, but if you got multiple screens and you want to kind of do it that way, you could do it that way. So now I've kind of linked everything up to yellow a little bit. So if you're doing an options trade, let's just say that starts to get a little more complicated. So what's happening now is, as we look to option trades, you've kind of got two sections here that you're looking at. You've got the call side and you've got the put side. Okay, calls on the left, puts on the right. You've got your, as I roll this up, this will be all in the trade tab. So if you're not in the trade tab, make sure you're there, because that's where you'll see it. If you're kind of in the Analyze tab or some other tab, it's not going to work. So you got to be in the trade tab and the all products, because you could be in the Forex, but still in the trade tab. So make sure you're in the trade tab. If you're not in the futures, not in the active traders, you're in trade and all products, okay? In the same way, you've got Analyze tab. We were in the risk profile picture, not add simulated trades. I was in the risk profile. You could also be in the probability analysis, but here, risk profile, Analyze, right there. Trade tab, all products, and I stick there. I don't move the mouse. I don't click anywhere else unless it's by accident, and that's the only reason why you might see a different tab. So, okay, so the way I look at the options sides is, now let's go ahead and close everything up. So here in the options, really, you've got your option chain. So if I close all this up, here's all the little drop downs. You could say, you could open up a trade grid, but I don't use it. You could open up the option chain. That's something that I use. Statistics, if you want to get some statistics, calls or puts, which ones were traded, kind of by volume, you could see that. You can see IV percentile. So you could see this. I don't really look at it too much because I look at the individual options themselves. I find that's a little bit better. You could look at time and sales, what's been trading. Not that you really need to be honest with you. And here's some more product depth. Again, I don't think most people need to see that. So we open up the option chain. This is really what we're looking at mostly. So, and here's what you got. You got days. You got your initial date right here. There's your date. You got days till expiration, and that's what you got. That's the main thing you're looking at. So how many days out am I going? Days until the last trading day. 28 days, 35 days, 42, 63. So let's say I want to go out a 63-day option. I could go ahead and open that up, and it gives me all of the options. Now, for you, if you look at the strikes, you might see like 10 strikes or less, and you might see only this. So you might not see everything, especially if you got something like Tesla. We type in Tesla over here. We've got 10 strikes, and now I went ahead and I've got only 10 strikes, but let's say I want to go ahead and sell something like way out, so I could go 500 strikes, and now you can see, hey, there's a lot more strikes in Tesla. Now, you've noticed probably there's a lot of color coding. Like here's a little bit of a blue, and then you've got black on this side. So you got blue, then you got black, it's like shaded, and then you got this area here that's black, and this area is blue. So what this is telling you is this part is in the money. That's on the put side. This part's in the money, okay? So let me simplify it for you. So we've got these areas right here, and we're gonna go, this is in the money. This one is in the money, which means they're actually worth something beyond just, you know, nothing. This is out of the money, and then this would be out of the money. And then what you've got kind of right here is the one that's closest and related to the exact, what current price are we? Current price is 753, so the 750s is basically at the money. Okay, not the 755s. It's the one right at it. So it's at the money. So those are the terms. But if you're selling options, it's better to be out here for safety's sake if you're brand new. And if you're buying options, eventually you want things to go kind of in your favor in the money. Again, when you're a more advanced option trader, it doesn't really matter too much because then you know what you're doing. You could be in the money, out of the money. You're flowing like water. But in our case, for basic simplicity's sake, out of the money is on the put side when the price is less because those aren't worth anything at the expiration. And out of the money on the call side is going to be when the contract is at a higher strike price. So that's really what we have at this point. This middle section is all your strike prices. So here we've got strike prices. Now you might also see these columns. I've got delta, probability in the money, bid, ask. The bid ask is always there. So I got, again, the call side, I've got the put side, and on any of these, you could also change them to, let's say, open interest. So I could change that column to be more open interest, and now it shows me open interest. I could change that column to be a different column here. I could go with, let's say, the delta. I could go ahead and put in the option code if you want to see the option code. If you want to go ahead and see implied volatility, you could see that as well. I usually personally leave it on probability of in the money. I could do open interest as the other one. Sometimes I might have the delta in there, but usually I have probability in the money, and then what I do is do open interest. And the reason for that is probability in the money allows me to also calculate probability out of the money. So that means if probability in the money on this one is 40, I know that minus 100, probability out of the money is 60. Okay, delta here is going to be very similar. In this case, we're much more volatile markets, but delta is going to be similar to the probability. So if I got a 0.52 delta, it should be roughly 0.52. In this case, it's not, just with the volatilities, the way they're matching up, but normally they kind of are. So 0.38 delta, you should be about 38% probability, but just because with the market right now we're at super volatile times, your probabilities are a little bit different. So in this case, I might use the deltas there as well. Otherwise, I could go ahead and just do open interest because I just want to make sure that it's a liquid spread. So for example, you know, doing something with 1,288 contracts open, which is the 950, nice round number, people like it, is probably better than doing something at the 940s, or maybe let's say the 900s. You can see, look at that difference. I've got 992 people, or open contracts really, and then you got 364 and 186 above and below. So I'd probably rather get in this one because it's easier to get filled, it's easier to get in and out of if you can. It's not to say you can't do the other ones, it's just, anyway, the way I would look at it. So to get into these option contracts, what I would do is, let's say I'm interested in one of these. You could, again, click one or the other, and then you got to buy or sell. I just right click any of them, and then I buy, and you could go ahead and now buy or sell. And mine is off the chart right now. Let me see if I can go ahead and there's going to be a little menu. Let's see, buy custom, just because I'm trying to, here, how about this way? There we go. Buy a single So you got all these little choices, single vertical back ratio. We're just going to do a single real quick, and this pops up. And again, I'll right click, analyze the trade. It pops it in there, and I can just delete these other trades that are in there in the simulation. Or I can check mark and uncheck mark these, and that'll change my simulation. So what this does now is it's got two lines. And these two lines, you could change it. I got white line, and I can go ahead and make it a red line. I usually use green. That's what used to be the setup. You could make it yellow. Just do something that makes sense for you. White and green is the typical. You could use kind of yellow if you like. Anyway, point being, you can go ahead and change it. These two lines now, one, as you can see, is at today. This is 4/18/2020. The other is on expiration, 6/20/2020. So with time, the white line gets closer to the green line. So that green line is at expiration. The white line is today. It's known as a T+0 line. So what happens here is, as price wiggles, again, you make money up or down. And then at expiration, that line gets closer. How fast does it move? Well, it's based on these Greeks. So your delta now is 59. So again, these are more advanced, but let's just say, for every $1 move, you make 59 or lose $59. Your theta is negative, so that means you lose $88 a day, and your vega is positive 121. So as long as volatility increases a bit, you make some money. Now, here's the cool part about this platform is that with time, I could go ahead and theoretically place that time forward, and you can see that I lose money. And the reason you lose money in this case is just simply, number one, the bid-ask spread, and number two, the time value. So you can see right now the bid-ask spread, I'm down 406, so just starting that position, you'd be down. But really what you're gonna do is, let's say the next day, how much would you lose? 88 bucks. So I should be down about almost $500, 495 or so. So you could see there it is, 496, and then move that again to the next day. It continues to get closer and closer. So the white line right here is getting closer and closer to expiration, okay? So we're getting closer and closer to expiration. And that's the way the options world works, is it tells you, hey, well, how's the position moving? That's what I like about this panel. Now, that's one thing you could do. Here's another cool thing you could do. You could go to this gear icon right here, which is right under this date, and I could also control volatility. So let's say volatility pops like 3 points. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. Well, that actually starts to expand. Let's say it pops like 13 points, not that it would, or let's say 53 points. You can see that white line will pop, and it'll tell you, give you the result of the profit and loss. So that's the other cool thing that you could do with this platform, and that's like a little hidden feature that most people don't know. You could also look at things from a symbol view, or I could switch it to like a portfolio view. And here's like kind of all of the things I have. Let's say you get rid of some of these other strategies. So here, when you're doing portfolio view, you could also go in and change from hide positions, or you could say hide simulations. So now it's just all the positions that I have left. And I think I only have a couple on these simulations right now. So here you can see I've kind of got this Russell double diagonal going on for one of the courses. So if you're interested in that diagonal course, check it out, because I'm wrapping up the filming for it. And you can get that at the tradersfly.com website. It's going to be, go to TradersFly. The course will be kind of right there on the homepage. And if it's not, it'll link you up with our recent courses. And you can go there, check out the Rise to Learn website. That's where we have all of the courses available. This one's on pre-order. And you can see all of the option courses right here. So check it out. There's a ton of great courses that we have, and a few more wrapping up some filming on. So anyways, with that being said, you could go ahead and just check mark which ones you want, you don't want, or you could go ahead and just hide the positions and do just the simulations. And again, you can close some of these out with the X's if you don't want those, because there's a lot of simulations that I was, working on and putting on, and people were asking me questions on. So you could go ahead and close some of these off. And you can see the graph will adjust based on the simulations that you put on. So as I'm tweaking this right now, let's just go to float. You can see, I could go ahead and add like a butterfly on this or not. I could go ahead and add more trades and contracts. So let's say I go ahead and add another trade, but then I go ahead and sell a few at this price, and let's see, I go ahead and do something like this. So by just switching things, I could go ahead and convert the chart and graph. And again, I could stretch it and it changes out my position, right? So if I want to create kind of like a vertical, I could just stack these contracts and just make that adjustment. And the platform will adjust it and it'll change my delta, gamma, theta, vega. So that's the way I do it. There's some other cool things that really is also interesting, and that is when you go back here at the very top, right here at the top, you can go ahead and include like a day step. And I don't use it too often, but let's say you switch it to like a day step, so it puts like 4 lines in there, so you can see what happens, like, you know, on this day, then that day, then that day. It's a stepping stone, and with a longer duration, you can increase the steps, the number of days, until, let's see if we can get it right there. I think that would be, yeah, that's the expiration. So we go a little bit less days. That would be kind of our vertical, and you can see the time decay with time, how it would work, because, you know, it's not linear. So you can see white line, green line, pink line, gray line. Hopefully, if you're not colorblind, you can see where you would be based on this profit and loss picture and based on the stock position. So anyways, that's another cool little thing that I would say that I like looking at. And other than that, you can also look at things just a single. Sometimes people get too confused with the expiration graph. You know, don't make it complicated. The T+0 line is your moneymaker. The expiration graph is in the future. You don't always get to expiration, so don't stress yourself about that. And the other thing you might want to think about is, you know, when you do this portfolio beta weighted, you know, sometimes let's just say we add a position with like a Russell. This is the cool thing is you can overlap trades, and I can say, okay, I'll buy a single put. This is what I want to show you. So here's our Russell position. And as I do that, I'm trying to cut my delta. So you could see, okay, well, I've got this Tesla position and maybe I'm worried about it going down. Well, I could protect, let's say 3 or 4 positions with a single position because I'm looking at things from a portfolio standpoint. And now I've just converted, you know, my whole position or whole portfolio. Like let's say I had a Tesla stock. Let's say I had some Disney, maybe another Disney. Let's just go ahead and do buy a calendar on Disney here. And I've got, let me get rid of this Russell real quick. So you could see Disney on its own. Let's just bump it up because Disney is a smaller stock, right? So compared to Tesla, so you need to put more capital in it to make it kind of appear more worthwhile. So let's put on like 50 contracts. But then we got Tesla, so you can see how that shifts the position. And now what you can do is, hey, if you're worried about kind of the downside because you've got kind of a bullish position or something, you could go ahead and put on this Russell contract right here to protect yourself. And this is a nice thing because now you're looking at things on a portfolio basis. And this is what this panel allows you to do. And it's like, oh, okay, do I want to execute that trade? I can just confirm and send it from right here. I could analyze an opposite trade if I don't want that, or if I want to close it out. That's the other thing that I would do. So if I go with the Russell and I do single symbol, and let's just hide simulations. So let's say I want to close out this trade. What's great is I could just select 2 of these contracts by holding control, right click, analyze, and it'll pop it in there. Okay, let me redo that because I was hiding the simulations. Click these 2, right click. So again, click 1. Okay, click 1, hold control, click the next one, right click, analyze closing trade, and boom. And I could close out just one side, or I could hold shift and it selects all of them, right click, analyze closing trade. It's kind of off the chart here, right there. It'll put the whole spread on. If I had multiple durations, you can see here, I could also filter them by just, you know, checking and unchecking this, and it'll go ahead and, you know, put it on or take it off, put it on or take it off. So that's the other thing you could do, just filtering some things. So anyways, that's really the main thing that I use within this platform. I don't get into too much other details, nitty-gritties or anything like that. So if you're trading options, this is kind of the way to go, and that's about as complicated as it gets. There are, of course, many other things that you could do regarding like scanning features. So they do have some things you could scan if you want to go ahead and play with that. Looking up stocks, you could go ahead and look at, the market watch here as well, quotes, the charts, the tools we've kind of talked about. But I don't really do these kinds of things too much. There's, spread book, things you've done, spread hacker, option hacker. You could look at those. The other thing that's kind of interesting sometimes, if you want to go ahead and do something like a layout, you could go ahead and customize this layout. Also, the other thing is, if you go in with these option chains, you could change it to spreads, but I don't really like that. So if you want to change it to, like, let's say I'm going to change to iron condors, they'll kind of give you an iron condor setup. I don't think you really need that. Or here, if I want to change it to calendars, they'll show you like a calendar from here to here, or, that kind of setup. But I personally like setting up my own calendar. It's like, okay, I want this versus the what strike. So they could do this for you in this. So I like the single, like just looking at it in this view. So there are some interesting choices here in this platform, but again, I don't really look at it in too much more in detail beyond that. So maybe for some people, you might be interested in the scan. So like, let's say you want to go ahead with the stock, like net change, but you might say, okay, well, let's look at the bid minimum of, let's say, $25 to $35 stocks. Again, I got a little zoomed in version right there. So, you might go ahead and do that. And let's see, I don't even use this. So now you've got kind of your scan for those 25 to 35, and you could, adjust it by volume and pop those things out and so on. I just use TC2000. Again, check out the website for more details. And there's, I think, the coupon for this. You could use many other platforms as well, but by the time you look at your stocks and know a bunch of the stocks, you can go ahead and just really put them in here in the panel, and you already know them, what's going on, what's happening. The last little bit I'll mention here is this monitor tab. I like this monitor tab as well, because it's right when you open up. So you can customize it to how you want. So here I've got this one last trade here on. Really, this monitor tab, you've got your working orders, fill orders, and canceled orders. That's kind of what I mentioned earlier. The other thing that's great is you've got your positions here on the instruments. You've got little notifications if you need quantity, days, delta, theta, vega, P&L, and P&L for the day. So for the day, how much did you make? And since you've opened that position, how much did you make? So, and then your buying power effect. And you can customize this. You won't see the days in quantity till you expand it, at least not in mine. But here's how you can customize it. So let's say I go ahead and, well, let's just first go ahead and, like, you can open up everything. You could do it that way. You could go ahead and group symbols by, let's say, by type. Let's see if they do that. You could do it, group symbols by spreads, and, you can categorize it. And I've got, double diagonal and so on. So you can see, like, it'll put, hey, there's my diagonal, there's my other ones that were closed out. So you could do all kinds of things. You could also change your columns there. Like, do you need to see the mark and the mark change? Maybe not. Do you want to see kind of the delta? If you want to do that, you could go ahead and put that in there and hit OK. And then you can see it'll put those things in there and customize it for you. I mean, for me, let me just reset this, and I just kind of leave it plain with the exception of these columns. I don't really need the mark or the change because I'm looking at it. And even the trade price, I don't always need. I just need actually my Greeks. And so I'll pop those in right there. So it'd be like the delta. I don't even need the gamma too much, but I'll just say theta right there, and vega. And yeah, and that gives you your kind of your individual delta, theta, vega, and your cumulative. Now, since I only have one position, you kind of see it all right there. It's the same, but that's what it does. And profit and loss for the day, buying power effect, and yeah, you can open it up right here. And you can also do the same thing if you want to right click any of these. You can analyze the closing order, how that would affect it. You can do it in the same way, which is really convenient. So I could click this trade like from here, click the top one, hold shift, click the bottom one, right click, analyze closing trade, and I can just put it in. That's what it would look like, and it just pops that trade in. So that's really convenient as well. So anyways, that's the basics behind this ThinkorSwim platform, at least the major things that I use. There's of course messages. You could create like a home screen, some setup things, like if you want to go ahead and change your font size. There's some stuff in here as well, like the look and feel. Like let's say you want a color scheme that's lighter, you could change it to that. Old school, like with yellow, I don't really like it too much. Chinese dark, you could do that. Chinese light, but you know, I just kind of leave it on default. Normally for font size, I do larger or very large, especially for filming videos, because it doesn't come out as clean. So I just kind of leave it like that. It's just easier on the eyes. And a lot of people that trade, they like darker screens because otherwise it hurts the eyes when you have a lot of white space all the time. So you'll notice a lot of programming, dark screens. Like if I go ahead and open up something like, let's see, Sublime Text, which is something that I use quite heavily in the past when I used to do a lot of coding. You know, the code work here would always be, it's on a back dark screen for that exact reason, for your eyes, to make it easier. So I would recommend leaving it kind of dark unless you're printing something out. So with that being said, I hope you got a lot out of this. You know, give you some thoughts on the account. Here's, you know, in this top left panel right here, there's some other things you could do for your account, like hiding these numbers or not, which I would recommend for privacy if you're ever filming videos. You never know. But beyond that, there's just a lot more to the panel and platform, but you don't have to get that detailed into it if you don't want to. And that's just kind of the basic overview for option traders, stock traders. That's the way I would look at it. And if you're doing kind of day trading, you might want to, you know, split this thing up a little bit more, or flexible grid, and have a little bit more sidebars. You could, of course, add some drawings in there, change your style, like the chart type in the candles. You can go ahead and kind of drag to zoom in a little bit. So that's pretty neat as well. And if you want to change the time, 30 minutes, a daily, you could switch that. So a lot of cool stuff there that you could do. And of course, it's just about getting familiar with the panel. I just showed you mostly what I would use and what I typically do. That's, I would say, 95% of what I use when it comes to this platform. If you get more detailed into it and beyond, good for you. Enjoy it. If you're interested in learning more about trading, trading options specifically, go to the website, Rise to Learn, Rise, the number 2, LEARN.com, and you can see all the courses there that I have, or even if you want to work one-on-one coaching and that kind of thing. The other thing we have is the tradersfly.com website. There's a lot of great getting started pages here. So again, if you're brand new, definitely check that out. Getting started guide, options 101. I'm finishing out these day trading, penny stock trading 101s as well. And if you go to the education, all these videos are free. 99% of the material that I make is free, with the exception of courses and books, mentoring and coaching, and some of the classes that we do, that's paid. But look at all the content here and we got 46 pages of material that's free. It's free. So go ahead, watch as much as possible, learn as much as possible, get some insight. If you're interested in the membership, go check out some of the memberships that we have, you know, for the options that help support me, the team, that also helps put up some of the videos. If you're interested in coaching, you could check out the coaching page here to get kind of a one-on-one session on video, or even some mentoring programs that we have there. And then there's a resources page, and if you want to see some stock market FAQs, go to the support. There's a ton of FAQs here, getting started, learning to trade, and some questions, and it'll link you up to kind of some of the videos, having a trading plan, and so on. So definitely take a look at this. There's a ton of great stuff and material all over the place that we have. And if you want to go in depth, check out the courses. You'll learn a lot more there. If you really want to speed things up, mentoring and coaching is the way to go. It's the fastest, but it's the most expensive because you're spending one-on-one or a group setting, depending on the mentoring that you get. But you're going to learn very quickly because it's hands-on, and we get our hands dirty with you. Other than that, enjoy the platform, enjoy ThinkorSwim. If you're just getting started with it, that's how you use it. I hope you check it out, tradersfly.com. Join our newsletter list so that way you get notified as we release more great content. So you can just scroll down on the homepage here, or just go to the description in YouTube and click one of the buttons down there and get one of the freebies, and you'll be on the newsletter as well. So thank you so much for joining me. In the end, remember, do what you love, contribute to others, but most importantly, live life abundantly. Subscribe on YouTube by clicking the button here, or you could go ahead and get some of those freebies, join the newsletter list by clicking the link right over on this side. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.